So we're going to be looking at some Agile frequently asked questions. Common question I get asked is, should my team do Kanban or Scrum? So let's talk about what that actually means. Scrum is a time box based approach. Usually teams are working in 2-week increments where they plan what they're going to do for those 2 weeks, and then they execute on their plan, and then they evaluate how well they met their plan, and then start on the next 2 weeks. If this sounds a little bit like waterfall really quick, sometimes it can turn into that. But for a lot of teams, that's an excellent place to start because it takes things that they were used to doing and just compresses the time down to where they're doing it really rapidly. Kanban, on the other hand, is more of a flow-based approach to where you're taking each item and trying to figure out how do I get this from start to finish and make that time as short as possible. With Kanban, you're not usually thinking in terms of a 2-week duration that you're planning everything for. You're more focused on what's the next thing I need to do and how fast can I get it from start to done. Most high-performing teams I've worked with that started with Scrum eventually evolved to the point that they were using aspects of Kanban. This just happens naturally as part of trying to find ways to deliver more rapidly, deliver smaller increments all the way through and get them into the hands of the customer. There are teams that have been using Scrum for years and find it very effective for them. Oftentimes, the decision of where to start is made by your organization or management or whoever's in charge of taking the team from a waterfall approach toward a more agile approach. Whatever you start with is probably going to be fine. The big thing you have to remember, though, is Agile is about continually improving. If you start with Scrum and never change anything because you don't think it could be changed and you're not looking for ways to improve, you're not really following Agile. Many of those teams that evolve from Scrum to doing more of Kanban still keep 2-week iterations of certain types of things. It's very convenient to have demos planned for every 2 weeks. It's very convenient to have retrospectives planned to where you're doing those every 2 weeks. But it doesn't necessarily have to hold up the delivery of all the individual pieces of software, sometimes all the way through to production, or at least to your staging environment. So really when it comes down to it, what's right for your team is whatever your team discovers is right for your team, as long as they don't stay there, as long as they keep on evolving. If you're starting with Scrum, you're in a great place to start. Just look for ways to continually improve, and you'll probably eventually find aspects of Kanban that will work well in your particular situation. If you're starting with Kanban, that's great as well, but don't overlook the fact that some of the cadence that you get from Scrum might be really helpful in your organization and for your team.